All right, 7:02. Just contemplating the like being here tonight. All the audience. Can I have roll call, please?
Michael Hamlin.
Here.
Scott Pennell.
Here.
Ted Carmen.
Here.
Poland.
Here.
Joe Curtis. Pekka Bailey.
Here.
Jim Clark.
Here. Please stand with us for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. We have an agenda in front of us. I'm going to make one amendment for our city attorney. We're going to move under city clerk A. We're going to move that up to under resolutions, and we'll make it resolution C. All right, do I have a motion for the approval of the agenda? I would approve. I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, Mayor. Under city clerk. A under city clerk.
A under city clerk is going to be moved up to resolution C.
Okay, good. I thought you said under city attorney. I'm sorry.
No.
Gotcha.
Per city attorney. Your direction.
Okay.
Okay, do I have a motion for the agenda?
I would make a motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Got Chuck and Bob, and discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We will move. Does anybody on council tonight feel they have a conflict of interest?
Yes, I will on the annexation on Monday.
Okay.
I'll recuse myself.
Thanks, Bob. All right, do I have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. We'll move to the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to move the minutes from December 9th, 2019.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion and second. Did everybody have a chance to look through those? See anything that we missed? All right, hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll move down to the bills. Do we have a motion? Okay, I'm reading bills now.
I move to approve the bills to January 13th, 2019 and ratify the bills from December 30th, 2019.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second on the table. All right, discussion. I actually have. Principal loan. Item number on page 11. Andy, do you think about that, what that is? Is that on our bond, the principal payment? Yeah, there is a couple, yeah.
Oh, there's more than one month.
Yeah, there is. The second one, second 11.
That is on, let's see, 51. Well, that is a water loan. The principal due on a loan for our water enterprise.
To the city?
No, it's one of the loans that we've had for a number of years.
Okay.
In the water enterprise.
And let's see on that same, it was on the water plant on page 12, 3593. It just says water plant. At the very top.
For Excel.
That's oh, is it? Does it cut off at
It's
the
under
bottom?
Excel.
From the,
Okay, I see what it is, I'm sorry. Anybody have any things, any questions that they want to get clarified tonight, or bills? All right. Roll call.
Michael Moon.
Yes.
Jeff Knell.
Yes.
Jeff Harmon.
Yes.
Bob Boland.
Yes.
Doug Curtis. Art Bailey.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right, we will move to unscheduled public comment. Is everybody signed up on the sheet that wants to speak tonight?
Do you want to sign? No, okay.
Okay, Irene Kincaid. I think if you speak loud enough, we'll just let you stand there for public comment.
Okay.
You got 3 minutes and we're timing you.
Okay. My name's Irene Kincaid. I live on Riverside Drive, east of Gilson. I was asked to relate to you tonight our experience with road construction, which we had down there last summer. I decided I should do this because, and I'm guilty as anybody, we always speak up when we're unhappy, but we seldom say anything when things go well. My husband and I were very happy of how things went down on our street while they were doing construction. There were issues. However, we relayed them to the construction company and they were most taken care of immediately. The construction people were great. They were always respectful and nice to us. Our largest problem was with Gilson Ditch, and the construction company felt that was not their problem. And I worry it runs through our property. As it was, I foresaw a swimming pool out there of dirty, stagnant water, which I didn't want. I called my representative, Bob, and as you know, he's been ill, so he referred me to the city manager. I called him and asked that they please come down and look at it. It would be much easier to look at than me to explain. They did come down, and you know, within 2 weeks, this was fixed. We were very happy with it. You know, for us, everything was done that was promised. You know, we're all sick to death of construction, but it is nice. It's, you know, our part is done, and if you just get there, it's good. I also know that our town is experiencing some very turbulent times. Makes me very sad. I would just hope that everyone would treat each other with kindness and respect. We're not always going to agree on everything, but sometimes we need to take a step back and take a breath. It's to our benefit to work together to make our town better. Thank you. I just wanted to
Susan Adams.
Susan Adams, I'm down on Minor Street. I haven't been directly affected by any of the construction, but having had my husband on city council for lots of years, just know that it's pretty detailed to deal with as a council, and have known mayors through not only Mike, but other mayors through the years, and it is a difficult job to manage. Like Irene, I just hate to see things not being friendly and being specifically stated, and I just felt like the petition was something that appeared kind of like out of nowhere, and I'm going, what is going on? Although there are people that I did ask and I will look at, possibilities of complaints, but, I just stand that, I wish this really wouldn't happen. It's such an expense. Do we really need to do this?
Good evening, everyone. Minor Street is where I own my property, and in the time that I've been here, I'd like to address and actually thank the mayor for all of his support that he's given the businesses in the historic district in downtown. I think he's been a stand-up guy. I think if there were choices to be made for change, we have already a system in place, and it's called the ballot box. Nobody ran against this man at the last opportunity, but since the opportunity is coming up again, I really think it's just such a shame that we have to go through this turmoil and this expense and this bad PR in this particular case. I wish, I don't know where it exactly stands, whether it can go away, whether it's already still in motion, but whatever it is, I would like to voice as a citizen my support to the mayor and my thanks, and as a business owner and property owner, I think we've done very, very well under his administration, and I also thank you for that. And that's about all I got to say.
Joey Betts. This is a combination with my wife, Rachel. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rachel. It's that time when we can be here every We represent Blackstone Rivers Ranch on Highway 103. Come here tonight to talk to you as neighbors and local business owners. While we have made a personal decision to remain removed from politics, we must be here tonight to voice our support for Mayor Hillman.
Hello, everyone. I think it's really sad that instead of sitting down and trying to discuss openly concerns for the mayor's decisions, that the first and only action taken was to recall him. To recall instead of seek to understand and communicate. The ability to progressively communicate and try to work things out together seems to be a lost art. And now Idaho Springs is a shining example of that. I think it's a shame. For the better half of the last 2 decades, I've worked to develop numerous projects in various cities around the Front Range. And while Mayor Hillman is not the ultimate decision maker in approving projects, there is no other mayor that I have been in contact with who has outwardly demonstrated more care and interest in how development will impact his small community than Mayor Hillman. Not only does he listen to his board, but listens to all members of the community who reach out to him. He thoughtfully analyzes both sides. In our experience, he has worked within the constraints of his position to find common ground. Last year, I began meeting with the city to discuss another new small business that we would like to open in town. At our first meeting, Alan pulled out the code book and told me exactly what could happen and what I would need to rethink to make the new business work within the zoning constraints. He went over all the zoning requirements with me. Working with the city is not a fun process. It is a process of dissection of your dream for the best interest of the community. So after years of work, of planning, and spending, you end up with a product that is only part of what you hoped it would be. And if there is anyone in this room who thinks new development projects are simply being pushed through without deep and contemplative analysis by our staff and city council, you are mistaken. That description does not match the reality of the process one bit. When we worked to get our project at Blackstone Rivers Ranch approved years ago, we were asked to do many things in the interest of the broader community. A couple small examples, we had to be certain that the majority of our lighting was focused downward so as not to interfere with the observatory on Mount Evans. We were required to redesign our entire landscape plan after spending thousands of dollars on the original design so that it complied with the city's fire department's request not all of which were spelled out in the code book. We spent at least 6 months designing our dream property, only to be regulated by the powers that be. This was your city at work making sure the public's interest and safety was considered. This was not the city shrugging off to push a project through. These are just a couple examples of the hundreds of considerations that our city staff considers when reviewing development in our community. And today we are a new business that gives back to our community. Over the past few years, we have created 6 full-time jobs, not a huge number, but definitely substantial for our small community. We also employ many independent contractors throughout our community. Just of this past year, we were able to offer our employees full health care, life insurance, retirement packages, and 401ks. We have reinvested over $30,000 in various nonprofit organizations throughout our community over the past few years. This is in addition to the sales tax being generated for our community by our business. And we could not have done it without the city, the community, and other local businesses who helped us start our business. This type of success cannot happen without a community committed to fostering positive growth. And we are an example of that positive growth that happens when a thoughtful, hardworking mayor, planning commission, and city council work together to find a balance between growth and stagnation. It is crucial that our community supports itself through healthy growth like this. Zuri and I are not unique. There are hundreds of business owners in our community who give back. But all anybody wants to talk about is the taxes. Just last year, I began developing a curriculum to mentor young girls throughout our community to become entrepreneurs. It is a personal passion project to help provide guidance for our young local girls who might not otherwise have support or guidance outside the school setting. Mayor Hillman was supportive upon hearing of the new project. His immediate questions were focused on what type of support we might need from the community to make it a success. This is the response of a mayor with a heart who is committed to strengthening our community. I'd like to encourage all of you to try to understand what a huge task it is to try to please everyone in such a public role. The jobs that the Planning Commission, City Council, and Mayor have are not easy. There has to be give and take on all sides. I urge you to truly look at the positive things this Mayor, Planning Commission, and City Council have done for our community. I would also like you to take a very deep look at what you have been told Mayor Hillman hasn't done and find the truth. Please stand with Zuri and I and vote in support of Mayor Hillman and against the recall.
Kathy Donahue?
My name is Kathy Donahue, and I moved to Riverside, 2025 Riverside, 10 years ago, and have not been very politically involved, and this recall kind of snuck up on me, and I am against it, and I do volunteer at the Visitor Center, and almost every comment I get, even though the construction will say stuff about, oh, this is tough to get through, and this and that, but oh, your city looks so much better, and we love coming here, and so on and so forth. It's overwhelmingly those kinds of comments, and I think that this should be decided at an election instead of a recall. This is a really egregious amount of money for our town, and anyway, that's what I have to say. Thank
you. Jan Boland?
I'm Jan Boland. I live at 175 Divide View Drive, Idaho Springs. I come from the Historical Society. I've worked with the Historical Society here in town for about 30 years now, and we're very happy with the city, with the things that they're doing for us. We recently had to have the restrooms replaced at the Visitor Center, and that was a very expensive thing for the city to do, but it's their building. We lease from them, and we work as a coordinated effort together. And we are currently working and assisting with the water wheel, the narrow gauge train, the library, the parks, and the 3 hose houses. Colorado Boulevard improvement took a great deal of leadership and vision on the part of Mike Hillman. He provided the Soda Creek Road. In addition, Minor Street and Riverside Drive is almost finished, I believe. So these are improvements that the city badly needed for so many years, and through Mike's leadership, we've accomplished that. The city runs on sales tax dollars. We receive very little percentage of the property taxes, so the sales tax dollars are what keep us running. We have doubled those taxes in the last 5 years. That says a lot for this administration. Mayor Mike has organized a great team of the city, from the administration to the police department, the city public works, wastewater, and the city hall. They all work together for the benefit of Idaho Springs and the residents. He's worked with CDOT, the Department of Local Affairs grant funding, and funding organizations to leverage all of the money that we've received through the city. The roundabout at the east end of town was a CDOT project approved by the city. It's worked out very well, and the benefit there was that it slows the traffic down coming into town. The mayor oversaw the CDOT change to the Water Wheel Park, and it's a beautiful area now in which the residents can all enjoy. The new steps at City Hall. The city worked with Henderson 9, offering commercial real estate owners a grant for their property facade improvements, and this created a great improvement to the appearance of the whole city. I don't know, again, they leveraged their dollars. The city, under Mike's direction, has continued to improve upon Citizens Park and the Historic District with beautiful container gardenings each summer, and we all enjoy that. His community free lunch at the kickoff and at the end of the summer has been well attended, and the residents can enjoy that.
Time's up, Dan.
All right, thank you.
Unless,
I have more.
Asta Key.
Okay, I have nothing planned, but I hate having my back to speak. I'm sorry to say things. I'm just not here. I think the thing that what I wanted to say, I'll probably cry.
I will too, Asta, don't worry.
My kids here. And I have people I've known my whole life that won't look at me anymore because I support you guys. And that makes me so sad. Second moms, I have friends that I've known forever. People, I don't know where the communication went. It makes me really sad. The reason I moved back here and I'm raising my family here is because of the community we have. I don't know where that's going, and it's heartbreaking to me. Whatever you support, I mean, I don't agree with everything the council does at all. I support the general direction that we're going. I love it. I love where our town is going. I love being able to walk from my business to my home on Colorado Boulevard and not worrying about getting hit by a car with my kids and ride my bikes up. Development is happening everywhere. I think the council has done a really good job of kind of controlling what they can. You can't tell people what to do on their private property. And that's a big thing. You can't, no matter who you are, you can't tell people what to do on their private property. So I think, to me, sorry to break down, but that it's heartbreaking. So that's all I want to say. I support you guys. Thank you so much. I know it's so thankless. I've done it before. So I appreciate you guys.
I'm gonna follow in Asta's footsteps because I also don't like having back to people. I miss you guys.
You had long hair last time I saw you up there.
I probably don't even recognize me. That was the whole idea. Jason Siegel, 2505 Minor Street. I've thought of about 1.5 billion things I want to say, but you guys have all already done a really fantastic job so far. I've done nothing but watch Mayor Mike Hillman pour his heart and soul into this community. He deserves better than this. Thank you. Thank you guys for all you do. The new guys, I appreciate you guys doing what you gotta do to get there the right way. You got yourselves on the ballot. I appreciate that. Thank you for everything you've done for our community, Mayor Mike Hillman. You've made life better for a lot of people, and that including me. I was one of those guys pushing my stroller down the street worried about getting hit by a car. I appreciate all the work that's been done. It's a thankless job. All these people are basically working for a volunteer wage. And the amount of hours and meetings they've got to go to, and Mayor Mike Hillman himself, he's gone to more meetings than I care to even fathom. And he's done a lot of work for this community. And all I wanted to say is that this man deserves better than this.
Chris Kincannon.
I'm Chris Kincannon. I live at 2917 Riverside Drive, and the road construction's been a mess. But whose right idea was it to put the drainage on the street down the north side of the buildings down there east of Pilsen, because it doesn't get any sun and it's just puddling up, and I've been chipping the ice out. I'm a little bit too old to be doing that. I've heard a lot of questions pro and con about what Mike's done and what he hasn't done and whatever. And nobody's giving me any, I mean, I haven't looked up the answers. But I've heard a lot of negative things. But I really haven't made up my mind yet. But that's something that's open to discussion. I need to know more answers. And I have to admit, I haven't been involved enough to keep up with it. And that's my fault. It's easy to procrastinate and put things off and not pay attention to what things are going on. So, the best of luck, and I hope things work out well.
Good evening, Tim Mock, 410 Soda Creek Road. Not to be cute, but somebody once told me, and I used to joke about it, that democracy was the worst form of government except for all others. It's not easy, it's not pretty, there is no perfect public policy. The one thing that we can ask out of our elected officials, and I welcome and congratulate the new council members. I don't envy the responsibility that you've taken on. But the best thing we can ask for our elected officials is that they listen. And Mike has done that above and beyond. There were days Mike, you and I had some of our disagreements. You might have been the last person I wanted to see during the day, but you always reached out. And I think that this community, when we all engaged in that democratic type of process, I want to congratulate everybody in this room, actually, because I think, as an example, the public parking, the paid-for parking downtown, we came to something that no community that I know of has achieved, where not only residents of Idaho Springs, but also the county, our community, essentially has some ability to park for free when others have to pay. And I think there are no easy answers as this state approaches 6 million people and beyond. The answers don't get any more simple. But we've got to stay at it. We've got to continue the conversation. Rather than drawing lines in the sand, we should be learning how we can cross those lines together. And I think that's where our money is best spent, is to keep at it and keep asking the hard questions and challenge ourselves to be better. A recall, I've always thought, was reserved for high crimes, misdemeanors, dereliction of duty, and I don't know that I've seen that. I appreciate the new construction, the new infrastructure that we desperately need, that we have sidewalks and bike trails in this community. We're laying basic building blocks that will attract young families to this community. Next, we've got to tackle multiple affordable housing options to actually keep us here, to allow new people, young people, to come to this community and lay down some roots and let those roots grow and graduate and become strong community members. So I appreciate what our elected officials do, whether I agree or not all the time. It's a representative form of government, and we should respect that, and we should challenge ourselves to challenge our elected officials and find some happy ground in the middle. Thank you.
Mary Jane Lovely.
I don't like my back to people either. Might get something in the back. Mary Jane Lovely, 110 Montaigne Drive. And I'm going to say it right out front that my biggest wish tonight is that that petition would be retracted and we wouldn't have to go through this effort. I think it's a waste of time, it's a waste of effort, and I wish all of these people that signed the petition and circulated the petition would become involved in one positive thing that the city is doing, that the school is doing, that all these other groups are doing. Just get involved and become informed before you start making up something. And I'm gonna, as everyone knows, I'm very involved in historic preservation, and I'm so proud of the city. Not just Mike, because all the stuff that's happening here has been happening for the last 20 or 30 years, and we've been building to it, and Mike and the council have been leading the charge to complete the stuff that we have been working on. Now we're seeing a tipping point. Pressure is coming at Idaho Springs. We need to get ahead of it. We need to stay ahead of it, and we need to provide the community that we want for people. We can't stop people from coming here. We cannot stop progress. Historic preservation, we have an authentic community that most people in this state would kill to live in. The city of Edwards is trying to duplicate Idaho Springs. We have an authentic piece of Colorado that nobody can duplicate. I'm going to give you 30 seconds of history. My family came here in 1954. Traffic was bumper to bumper through town. Congestion was horrible. People hated it. Then I-70 got constructed through town. My parents, by the way, built a Dairy King and a miniature golf course. And we made bank in the 50s and the 60s. I-70 came by, the town almost died. 50% vacancy on Minor Street, retail leakage down to Denver. Those of us that have been here working for the last 40 years have bootstrapped this community up to make it what it is today, and we're getting in front of what's happening instead of just being negative and saying, we don't like this, we don't like that. Let's take a risk and make this the best community we possibly can. And I appreciate you, Mike. And I appreciate all of you council members, and especially Andy and Alan. You're doing an amazing job. You're putting forth all these amazing obstacles for people doing things, but they're reasonable, and it's the right thing for the city to be doing. I'm proud of all of us, and let's work together.
You guys are like to stand over here. There's absolutely nothing left to say. I mean, honestly, I sat on council with Mike for 4 years. I was on council for 10 years. I can tell you that I would have loved to see a crowd this large at any of the council meetings where big decisions were made. It would have been lovely to have this much discourse. Or not discourse, discussion. I want to make sure Rachel and Yuri are heard, because I think you guys really said it best, that we're building a community together, making sure that projects are heard, that they're constructed properly. Alan and Andy are making sure that the law is being followed. I just want to say I support you all. Welcome Chuck, welcome Art, welcome Jim, Scott. I don't think I was here for your opening night, but I just want us all to come together and do this more often, have conversations. But most of all, I'm in agreement 100%. The recall, no offense, is stupid. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of our time. It's a waste of somebody's reputation, and it's a waste of our reputation. Thank you.
Hi. You guys got to look back here.
Just you have your back against the wall.
So I wrote this out last week, and it's so redundant for what everybody's saying, but I'm going to read it to you anyway. So whether you like it, whether you're pro or con, looks like we're going to have a mayoral recall election. And debate is a certainty. I would greatly appreciate respectful discourse that holds the health of our community and its people at the forefront, and informed and engaged dialogue that moves us forward, honoring current business owners and residents, and leaves a diversity of services in our community, and respectfully hears all sides. We need to be able to see all sides of an argument without contempt, name-calling, veiled threats,
and fear of retaliation, we must treat each other with respect and dignity. We all have hopes and dreams, and we can find a basis to come together by agreeing that we have compassion for each other and a desire for fairness. We are facing big challenges. But let's remember that it's the people who make this town what it is. It's the people who come together in crisis and in death. It's the people who lend a hand or moral support. And it's the people who live here, who give to charities, who give their time and money, and hopefully will remember every day that these people are our friends and our family, and assume that these wonderful, smart, engaged people have something to bring to the table. We may not agree on everything, but listening to each other with an open heart should be non-negotiable. So what's it going to be? We're going to emulate the disgraceful behavior that permeates politics today, or set a higher bar, speak and listen respectfully, and become an example of how things can be done better. It is truly not us against them. It's just us. And that's it.
Nate Kerslag.
I don't have anything prepared. No, I'm a business owner as well in the town. We are on Colorado and 15th. We live on Floyd Hill, so technically we can't vote. But we appreciate life. We appreciate everything that has been happening. We are very excited, as I believe we fall into what Tim was saying, the younger generation that is coming in to set roots. We've been in the town for 5 years, and we are so excited to see. She's been here for 10. We're very excited to see progress, knowing that billions of people live right there, not millions, and people are going right past us on I-70, and we are a pit stop. And it's been like that forever. Last thing I remember as a kid, it was dirt roads everywhere. So to see progress, to see change, to see things that are geared towards the community, outdoor things that are happening, we're rafting. That's it. And so, can we be more than that? Hopefully. I don't want to be a Route 66 and everybody just passes us by and we're in the dust. So, like I said, stand with you, Mike, and everything that you've done, and as a community, thank you, and very excited to see the growth. And can only move forward. So that's all I
got. All right. Thanks for all the comments tonight.
Mine's on the page.
Oh, we got some more. Need to get a sheet. Did anybody forget to sign up that would like to sign up?
That's for the ordinance, I think, right?
Yeah.
Jim vote.
Thank you, sir.
You can well, ladies and gentlemen, I first want to say, I want to do this.
Michael, I appreciate what you've done.
I'll opt in, unprepared, no comments, whatever. My name's Jim. Those of you who know me already know me. Those of you who don't, you find out about me. Currently, I'm ES5 with the federal government. I also do astrobiology research for the Scripps Hart Institute in Woods Hole. I am here to, unfortunately, and Michael, when he came in, I very, very much supported his candidacy to come in. He has done the things that he said he would do when he came in. And I applaud you for that, truly, truly, truly. However, since that time there's been some issues. I left with good, clean record and such. There are some issues that come up with me personally, not just personally with me, but other aspects of it. I had filed a very formal statewide national credibility complaint against Chris, who I have no animosity against, other than the fact that he's currently our chief of police. I have filed very specific, long-length, many pages complaints against the actions of the Idaho Springs Police Department. They were filed with Mike. They were responded to me, not by Mike, by Chris. Makes me think that he's kind of a secretary, so to speak. That said, what I've seen going on since I've left here, and I left cleanly, I had no expectation of coming back. But we've lost our way. We really have. Mike has fulfilled a lot of things he wanted to do. But if you look at the council today, we have Scott, we have Jimmy, we have Art. Bob Bowen's been here since Jesus was a, I don't know you. It's time to rethink our future. I don't live here. Bill Macy can attest to who I am. Jack Morgan can attest to who I am. Jack Morgan and I don't necessarily agree. We're still friends. I'll stay friends with Mike. I'll stay friends with Chris. But they have ignored my request of statutory legal obligations to fulfill investigative requirements, not only on behalf of the Idaho Springs City Charter, the state of Colorado, and the Bureau of Land Management. So I stand up here today not to admonish any of them, but they have failed to respond to me. And failing to respond to me as a retired Deputy Chief of Police of this fine city after 15 years should make you think about what we have for our current administration. Why do we have Scott? Why do we have Jimmy? Why do we have Art?
That's your 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. I wasn't, my name's Kelly Flanagan. I live outside of Idaho Springs. I wish I was an Idaho Springs voter and could vote and be involved a little bit more in this conversation. But I moved back to the community about 2 years ago because I love the direction that the town is going. I felt like I could have my kids in a really great school where I would know all of the teachers. I could be really engaged in that way. My background is economic development and local government, and so I've watched kind of from afar for a while how these pieces have come together. And I've been very impressed with the dialogue that we have on boards. I sit on the board of Clear Creek Economic Development Corporation with Mike, and we deliberate what growth looks like and how we do it and how it makes sense and how it's fair and how it's equitable and how it does no harm. And I think we, as that group, which is responsible in large part for looking at what our community needs, has been very thoughtful in that. And I think that when you are dissatisfied with your representation, you have an obligation to participate, which was one of the things I was so excited about coming back when I said I care about public education and I care about local government and economic development. How can I get involved? And it was very easy for me to plug into the places that I wanted to plug in, which is why I'm so happy to live in a small community and make a difference. I think that Idaho Springs looks great. I think it has made huge improvements from the time that I left, which was a long time ago. And I'm very excited about what is to come. And I hope that our community can find a way to come together and to be thoughtful of one another and to tell the truth and to ask the hard questions. And I'm not sure those things and that civil discourse that I think should be a barrier to entry, that should just be required, is missing. And I think Mike is open to that. I think the city staff is open to that. I think our planner, in fact, I know our planner and our city manager are open to that. And so before we go down a pathway of misinformation and storytelling, we should be upfront with each other and our questions because we can trust the answers that we're getting. I am proud of the work Idaho Springs is doing. I am proud that my kids will also be Clear Creek gold diggers, and I am proud of a full room of engaged citizens. So thank you for the time.
Okay.
That's everybody. Now everybody's gonna get up and leave, right? All right, we'll move on to the rest of our meeting. Thanks again for all your comments tonight. All right, we now move down to resolutions. Resolution 1, do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve a resolution designated a public place for posting of notice of regular and special meeting of local public bodies of the city of Idaho Springs.
And do I have a second? Second. Discussion. So everybody, every year we do this, of posting places, and we just have to do a resolution every year to verify that. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. And we'll move to resolution 2. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve resolution 2, series 2020, a resolution calling a special mail ballot election on the recall of Michael Holman from the office of mayor on April 7th, 2020, fixing the ballot title for the same and authorizing the appointment of election judges.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Michael Holman?
Yes.
Jeff Now?
Yes.
Jack Harmon?
Yes.
Bob Boland?
Yes.
Curtis? Art Campbell?
Yes.
Jim Clark?
Yes.
Okay, now we have the resolution that we moved from city court up to resolution C. Does somebody have that resolution?
Oh, sorry, to clarify, Mayor, it's not a resolution per se, but A, under city clerk, which relates to the resolution you just adopted, asks you about the method that you would like to use to conduct the election. No logistics.
So through our work session, I think we all agreed that we were going to, and Diane, if you would tag onto this, to hire a consultant to lead you in this election.
That is what I'm asking council.
And council, so you know what that looks like, or what we're asking for tonight. It really is, we're not directing you anywhere. I want to be clear on that. We staff to do that. We put choices in front of you and how we conduct this and try to ballpark for you what that would cost in the study session. And we want you to tell us which method you would like to use. If indeed you do choose to direct us to engage consultants, and if indeed it's Karen Goldman or another firm or bringing more options, whatever, I would prepare because we would give you for a couple of your next meeting the actual agreement for services. Alright, so you would know and be able to again review and approve or disapprove any particular dollar amount or hourly rate, etc. Okay? So is that clear what we're asking you to do? Give us the sort of general direction. We'll bring a formal agreement back to you. But we can at least get in motion, getting that person on board.
Okay. Does anybody have any other ideas? Maybe you're seeking an attorney, or go ahead to go with Diane has been talking through that to help us get through this.
Yeah, make a motion.
Do we need a motion to?
I would like to make a motion that we retain a consultant to assist in the recall election.
In any particular one, in Ms. Goldman, or bring back other options for you?
Well, after reviewing Karen Goldman's relevant experience, I would recommend Karen Goldman.
Okay.
And that's who Diane feels comfortable with.
Do I have
Yes.
We'll get this in. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, now discussion. Go ahead, Jim.
Diane feels comfortable with that.
I absolutely do.
I think that's important.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Michael Tillman?
Yes.
Jeff Now?
Yes.
Jeff Harmon?
Yes.
Bob Boland?
Yes.
John Curtis? Art Campbell?
Yes.
Jim Clark?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. All right, we will now move into our ordinance readings.
Mayor.
Second reading.
We just need to go back, if you would, to planning and community development. You guys,
All right, staff reports ordinance 2021-22. Alan, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, I had a question to that last vote. None of those numbers were disclosed. Can you give me a ballpark on what we're talking about for the
Consulting
consultant?
session, the rate for Goldman would be $70 an hour.
And then the recall as a whole, do we have a ballpark for how much that's gonna cost?
$10,000 to $17,000.
And that was done at the other consultants, right? That was like an in-house estimate.
I could have got this.
Hopefully with Karen it'd be less.
Okay.
Okay, planning community development, staff report, ordinance 2021-22.
Skateboard park people.
Yeah, I'm gonna apologize. One thing about community development plan, I'm right on the heels of a neck surgery, so that's why I have a microphone.
You treated like a
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you might zoom.
Well, that's just my voice.
Okay, that's cool.
Testing 1, 2, is that better? Again, I can't protect my voice. Before the ordinances, I was asked to do an update on what happened with the health clinic. So there isn't going to be a vote on this tonight, sir, but this is an informational just to let the council know where the health clinic is. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm doing my best. Okay. So this was what is called a final development plan for a 12,000 square foot community health clinic. And this went to Planning Commission last month. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of this. Here is the property. So if you remember where the Clear Creek lumber was, this is the property. It has since been demolished. It's now a vacant piece of property. It's a little less than about 1 acre in size. It's zoned commercial 1. This zoning allows retail office, medical offices, and as well as multifamily residential. It's embedded within a residential neighborhood. Like I said, this is the former site of the Clear Creek lumberyard. Quick description of this project. Again, it was recommended to bring this to you because this is a major project for Idaho Springs. I want to talk a little bit about how this transpired. So this project, the first floor is going to be a medical center. The medical center right now exists at 115 15th Avenue in the Jacob House, if you know where that is. The second floor is proposed to be various human service providers, so mental health services, behavioral health services. The building itself will be on the western portion of the lot, which I'll show you in a minute. Parking will be on the eastern portion of the lot. Soda Creek is bisecting both sides. It's roughly splitting this property in half, and this will be integrated into the site as an amenity. So this is important. During the pre-application discussions regarding the project, the county informed the city. So this project was being led by Clear Creek County, and Clear Creek County is working with some leases that will be leasing this property. But this property is owned by and is being developed currently by Clear Creek County. During the pre-application discussions about this project, the county informed the city that state statute limited the city a review of this project, meaning that there was only so much that the city could review on this project. According to the statute, the city is only allowed to review the location, the character, and the extent of the proposal, and that this proposal was required to go to Planning Commission within 60 days of the formal submittal. The Planning Commission, in this particular case only, ultimately makes the final decision. So this did not go in front of council. It's not required to go in front of council. Per the state statute, it was only required to go in front of the Planning Commission. In addition to that, under the state statute, the county has the ability to overrule any Planning Commission decision. So hypothetically speaking, which is not the way this turned out, if the county commissioners did not like the result of the Planning Commission, they could have overturned this and done this anyway. That's what state statute says. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm trying here. I'm not going to go through this analysis, but this was looking at it against the setbacks and the height and the zoning, and what this table is showing is that this complied with all of the regulations of the commercial one zone district. Here is a picture. This is the site plan, and this also shows the landscape plan. So again, here is the health clinic. This is Minor Street. This is Soda Creek Road. And Soda Creek is being integrated into this site as an amenity. This will be a bermed area. It's going to be raised up between 2 and 3 feet. That was done at staff's request because we wanted to make sure that headlights from cars pulling in and out of this were not shining on the houses across the street. So the county worked with us to do a landscape buffer here so that as cars came in, they weren't going to be shining in the houses. And when you're coming down Minor Street, you'll see landscaping and berms and not a parking lot. So, per our regulations, 30 parking spaces were required for this project. The applicant, meaning the county, and the architect provided 43 parking spaces. The traffic study indicated 483 daily trips per day. That, in general, is about 43 trips occurring during the morning peak, between 7 and 9 a.m., 37 trips occurring during the evening peak, between 4 and 6. And the level of service, it's an engineering estimate, but basically what it says is that the amount of traffic or minor, the level of service is not going to really change with the addition of this project. I want to talk, this was probably the biggest discussion that we had. The city and staff had concerns about a major project being built directly in the middle of a residential neighborhood. We had concerns about something being built and being there between 25 and 50 years and how it would integrate into the neighborhood. So there was very robust discussions between staff and the county to try to work on a project that fit there well. So obviously everybody knows this area, but I wanted to show what it looks like standing on Minor Street, looking east and looking west, because I think that leads as a precursor to see as to how this design has evolved over the last about year and a half. This was the first project, so this is what we initially got. This actually came about 5 years ago. This was the earliest version of the health clinic. It was my understanding that it didn't allow enough second floor space that they needed, so they had to go less with the pitched roofs and go a little higher with this building. This was the next version that we got. We got this version last year. Staff and the county had to go back and forth with this. We thought this sort of looked like two different buildings connected together. We wanted to try to get something that fit more with the neighborhood. In particular, what we were concerned about is if you look in the architecture of the neighborhood, it's Victorian houses with clapboard siding and pitched roofs, and we wanted to make sure that whatever was built there was complementary of all those existing residences in the neighborhood. This was the next version that came. Hopefully this changes fast enough. This is what we got. This was the third version. We were getting closer, but staff still thought that this did not get quite close enough because of the amount of brick, because of the roofs weren't pitched enough, and because there wasn't any clapboard siding to connect into, again, to that Victorian architecture on this side of Minor Street. The version that you're seeing in front of you tonight is a version that was ultimately approved at the Planning Commission. So it's kind of hard to see here, but this is all concrete that simulates clapboard. So does this. The only brick is in this area, but all the rest of it has pitched roofs. It has wooden elements to take sort of that mining theme and sort of that timber theme. And again, it has more of a lap siding and a clapboard siding versus brick, which was something that we had an issue with. The other thing that we had some discussions about is early versions of this project had a lot of rock on it. And we had concerns about whether or not that rock belonged there. So we talked to the applicant and we showed them some of the retaining walls along Colorado Boulevard, and we suggested that their architecture take into account the kind of rock that was more native in the retaining walls along Minor Street, and not sort of this larger, different kind of rock that was originally being proposed. The applicant was amenable to that. I'm wrapping it up here soon. The last thing we had a big concern about was lighting. Again, this was completely surrounded, embedded in a residential, mature neighborhood. We wanted to make sure that this commercial, somewhat, not commercial, but this non-residential project surrounded by houses was going to be a good neighbor to the people that live in this neighborhood. So we had major concerns about the lighting. A few things we had concerns about is we didn't want to see light poles that were too high. They were going to be casting lights down on the houses. We wanted to make sure that the lights, any lights that were there, was downcast and shielded, and that it was on timers and sensors. So after hours, when the health clinic was closed, the lights would be downcast, not shining into people's windows, and would be going off at night. The applicant again agreed to do all those things. We had a community meeting in September of 2019. All property owners within 300 feet of the property were notified. 2 signs were posted on the property. 11 people came. Most of the concerns were in regard to the bonding measure and why was this being built if the bonding measure failed. There was one concern about the height of the structure, but overall no major issues. So this property is zone C1. Staff and the applicant have been working together for the last few years to get to a design that we can both agree on. The proposal meets or exceeds all of the land development regulation requirements. There will be little change to the roads, and state statute says that the planning commission is the ultimate decision maker. So staff recommended that there was a few differences with the planning commission at their meeting, a few conditions of approval. One of them is that, as I talked about, we wanted to make sure that any rock that was on the building was going to be of a size and a color and a texture that was compatible with the rock walls in and around Minor Street. We wanted there was quite a bit of height of the rock, so we talked to the architect to make sure that they lowered it a little bit, so we didn't look at a large stone structure, that you looked at something that was more like some of these residences. We had a condition that the light poles would be less than 12 feet in height, and then all the lights would be downcast and shielded, which was another condition that the planning commission went with. And we also wanted to recommend to the planning commission that there's a landscape berm that runs along Minor and Soda Creek, both for the reason of screening the parking lot, also for blocking out the headlights, so that it softens it down and makes it look more like a park than a parking lot. So at their December 4th, 2019 meeting, the planning commission approved this final development plan. They had one more condition of approval, and what that was is because of the issues, especially with lights at night shining on the houses across Minor Street, the planning commission conditioned this, that the Minor Street access would only be entrance, and that the Soda Creek access would only be exit, so that cars would not be shining across Minor Street. They'd only be coming in on Minor Street, going out on Soda Creek Road. With that, the planning commission unanimously approved this. So again, I'm bringing this to you just to talk about this major project, to let you know that the way that this played out, and to let you know how this evolved. Are there any questions, council?
Mr. Mayor, may I make a comment?
Yes.
You know, sitting here listening to him, it sounds like the same thing we went through with CDOT several years ago. And the city has a 1041 regulation that we applied to CDOT when they wanted to come and take the backside of our city hall and ride I-70 through here. You know the whole story, and I don't want to get involved in talking about that. But it was my understanding, and we took them to court, CDOT to court, and sued them against our 1041 regulation, us in Parker, city of Parker. And it come back that our Reg 1041 holds, and it's been adjudicated in court. It was appealed by the state. So we have a history of people just can't come into our city, whether it's the county or whether it's CDOT.
Okay, I'll stop you right there, Jack, because the 1041 was my question to our city attorney, and got verification that a 1041 would not, they would not have to go through a 1041 hearing for this project. That was one of the things that
Why did we make CDOT go through the 1041 to apply? They had to come back and.
I'm gonna let Alan.
The reason why is 1041 is called interest of state. So CDOT is a state level agency. The 1041 regulations were written specifically for CDOT type things, because CDOT was coming in and running things through the process. This was a county, so cities and counties are not subject to the 1041. That's a statewide issue. So if it's a CDOT type issue, we have to follow the 1041, not the county. That's why they weren't required to follow that process.
I'll look into that. I'm not sure about that. I know we put that to protect the city.
And we can get okay, go ahead, Alan.
Okay, so that said, now I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened with the rezoning and the annexation tonight. Everybody
before we go there, I just want to make a note that the traffic study refers to 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 6 a.m. 6 p.m. Each additional hour, between which is 7 hours, will facilitate, according to their numbers, 51 trips. I just want to get that on the record. So that's a good number of cars. Just wanted to know.
I wasn't sure if you wanted an answer.
No, I don't want to comment, but then look at, if, when you just take those 4 hours, out, the busy time is here, 7 hours, and 22 per hour.
Yeah. You want to move on to the next one?
So.
Well, the traffic.
Oh, he's making it now.
Yeah,
In between the two peak periods, there's sort of, I think, Arthur, if I'm stating, if I'm paraphrasing you right, you're saying in between the peak 7 to 9 and 4 to 6, that the traffic in between with the number of trips will be relatively steady and won't be a major burden on Meyer Street. I think
Well,
is
I'm not
what
saying
you're
it's
saying.
not being made, or I'm just saying that's what it is, it's for future reference, for additional, things that may occur that.
Thanks, Lauren.
Any more questions on this particular project, comments? Okay. Ready for the next one?
The issues that are, annexation.
Yeah, I think there's supposed to be some more precursor to this
Right.
before I jump right into that.
Those, right, that, this can be the packets under your heading, if you present those under the hearing, when the ordinance comes up, let's do that. Okay.
All right. So at this time, we will come out of our regular meeting, we'll go into a public meeting.
Whoa. Are we on first reading? Right there, number 7. Let's knock out those ordinances on first reading. Yeah, so then they can be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about the ordinances?
Yes.
Okay, I need a motion for ordinance number 1, please.
I'll make a motion to ordinance number 1, series 2020, an ordinance amending rates and charges for water and sewer service and making conforming amendments to the Idaho Springs Municipal Code.
Do I have a second? Second. Discussion. Any questions?
Well, it's already in place.
This is amending the rates. Our rates will be going up, and this is amending what we already had for the new rates.
They've already gone up though, right, correct?
They have not been implemented yet.
Be effective April 1st.
Yeah, I'd like to know how did you come up with the formula to raise the rates?
I'm gonna let Michael kind of let it speak to that a little bit. Michael is with JDA, our city engineers.
Okay.
That is part of our rate study that we've been doing, not only one, but we've done 2 rate studies.
Well, the rates are based on thank you, Council and Mayor. The rates are based on a study that was done by a financial advisor, Rocktellis. They specialize in looking at all of the debt that the city has, all of the projects that the city is currently undertaking, and all of the projects that the city would like to undertake. We've been working in conjunction with the city and with Rocktellis for a few years, and there's been a rate study done in 2018, which made recommendations for 19, and then there was it was updated in 19, which was the basis of what's now being requested for action by council tonight. And there's a number of different projects. This is for I understand it, this is the water increase first. Water and sewer. Yeah. So that I guess if you had specific questions about projects that are planned or are ongoing, that I could talk about those.
My question was how you got to the rate. So basically, what you're telling me is that they looked at the overall financial condition of the city and came up with a source of getting some additional revenue by raising the rates to the water. Really had nothing to do with
You gotta remember that the city and the enterprise fund are 2 different.
Okay.
Enterprise fund is one, the city. So this fund over here draws nothing from this from our general budget. It only does what the revenues they bring. That's how we pay for things, through the water and sewer rates. That's how we pay for our capital improvements and our ongoing maintenance for our water and sewer plants, or expansion of our sewer plant. It's completely different from the city. The city, we borrow money before we get going, but they do not get any of our general funds.
I'm not saying they got a general fund, I'm saying they based their rate increase on the financial status of the city. Is that
No,
what you just said?
by the financial
Financial
status of the enterprise, not the city, the enterprise.
Relative to operating the plant, not just as a revenue source. You're pointing out a very good distinction, which is tax revenue generator, go to the people, versus fee, pay for a service that's provided and actually fund that service.
That's what
Right? Yep. Excellent point. And Michael, maybe you can speak to the point of not to get too in the weeds of the calculation, or maybe even, this is something that we could and should, for our newest council members, if they don't have it, that rate study that we have, if you haven't, have you seen that yet, sir?
No, I have not.
Okay.
That's not what-
It's on the internet.
So that would be, did you put it in the package? On
Sorry?
the website?
It's on the website.
Well, let's get that to you, so in particular, between first and second reading, and vote however you want to on this first reading, but you will have the sort of background and study and the true data and operational needs that we have out there at the plant to know how these numbers were derived.
That's what I'm after.
Yep.
And this is the first rate increase based off that study?
Well, I would say they sort of refresh the study and do a new one every year, or at least an updated projection every year.
So what we did, Art, is we did a rate study. And the idea that the businesses were not paying their way, there were some folks saying that the businesses were not paying enough and paying their way. So we did a rate study that included that, and to find out if they were paying their own way. And we did find out that the citizens maybe were in some sort very little bit subsidizing the businesses, if you will.
Right.
And that's why we made the adjustments.
We've got 100% increase in our water and sewer. 100%.
Excuse me. We're
So we have in place rates increase for the next, this year, next year, and the following year?
Yes.
And the rate increase has already been set as far as the percent for each year?
There's a recommendation in the rate study that puts forward a rate increase through 2024.
And what are the percentages? We have
9% for 2020 and 2021 on the water plan, then 8% thereafter. And then on the sewer plan, it's actually 3%. It was 3%, now it's 8%, and then 3%. So it shows how the plan has changed based on new data. But 8% for 2020, 8% 2021, 8% 2022, then down to 3% in 23.
That's for residential, that's across the board for residential as well?
I would say that's in the rate study. I would have to look at the report myself. I think that, I believe it was across the various residential, commercial low strength, commercial medium strength, commercial high strength, and municipal, but I would have to go back to the report.
So we're going to go next year, put 8% on what we did this year. In essence, we're compounding the actual increase because it more than 8%.
Well, I would say
it's a compound.
you'll see next year. I mean, you make the decisions incrementally. You can always not make the decisions. These are recommendations that, the consultant is making to you. And you can absolutely, if you want to, ignore those recommendations and fund the operation of your plant. So understand, nobody's asking you or telling you you have to take those recommendations, nor is anybody asking you or telling you you have to this year and next year and the next year and the next year. That's why you guys get the big bucks. You make these decisions. Okay?
The rate study will be a very good reference. Like the appendices of that will have the formulas for how the increases were calculated. And I believe it does have even some sensitivity analysis to show different scenarios as to how we might proceed to fund the capital projects that are planned.
Thank you. I didn't even know you like this.
That's okay. That's why I'm here, is to support.
Good questions.
They've already done the rate increase.
All that was that rate.
Pardon?
Rates with forms.
It's 100%.
Their recommendation, you haven't seen that yet, so.
Double.
So then what are we doing?
So what we're gonna be voting on is the acceptance of the water rates being increased for 2020.
To their recommendation.
For recommendation by our engineer and our financial advisors.
And it's a first reading, so we always have the chance to decline it on the second.
You'll see this ordinance a second time, as with all of them, sir.
Remember, we talked about that, maybe 60 days, the first reading, and 30 days, and then talk about it again 30 days later. Okay, any other discussion? Any roll call?
Michael Cohen.
Yes.
Beth Canal.
Yes.
Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Curtis. Art Cavalli.
No.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. All right, we will move to our second ordinance. We'll have a motion.
I would move that we approve ordinance number 2, series 2020, an ordinance approving a loan from the Colorado Water Resources and Power Development Authority, authorizing the forms and execution of the loan agreement and governmental agency bond to evidence such loan.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second, discussion. Open for discussion. Okay, hearing none.
Michael Hammond.
Yes.
Beth Canal.
Yes.
Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Curtis. Art Cavalli.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes. All right. Motion passes. Now we'll move to our ordinance second reading. This,
I will find the
this is where we'll go into a public hearing.
Yeah, and I will repeat myself at this point and give me a minute to make it right now.
Okay, we can go into a public hearing. This is a hearing that will come to order. This is a public hearing before the City Council of the City of Idaho Springs to take testimony for consideration to approve ordinance number 22, series 2019, an ordinance annexing to the City of Idaho Springs approximately 0.49 acres of land in unincorporated Clearview County, Colorado, adjacent to the Montane Park subdivision, to be known as the Boland Garnett annexation to the City of Idaho Springs, and ordinance number 21, series 2019, an ordinance rezoning approximately 0.49 acres known as the Boland Garnett annexation to the City of Idaho Springs to residential estate RP. The applicant and anyone giving testimony will be sworn in by the city clerk. The order of this public hearing will be as follows. First, we'll hear staff report by the city planner, applicant testimony, and public comment testimony. This hearing is now declared open at 8:20. We will get it going. We have Alan Tiefenbach, our staff planner. All of you.
Thank you, Alan Tiefenbach. Still hanging in there, community development planner. Try to make this as interesting as I can because it's not super interesting. So this is a request by 3 neighboring property owners to coordinate together on the following. So the first is to annex 2 parcels and rezone to residential estate. And the next is to vacate certain right-of-ways. And I'll go through a little bit of the background. So what happened is that originally the property owners of this one here, 170 Divide View Road, came in and approached staff and told us that they had purchased this piece of property here, this yellow piece. This was about 12,830 square feet. This was adjacent to their land. It was BLM property. They wanted to know whether they could annex this into the city and then build another house on this lot. What they wanted to do is that they wanted to have a second dwelling unit for a family member to live in. We responded to the applicant that if they were going to annex, the next thing that's required is a rezoning. All of the surrounding properties in this area are zoned residential estate. Residential estate has a minimum lot size of about 14,500 square feet. Because this parcel is only 12,000 square feet, this would not meet the minimum lot sizes to be able to plat out a whole nother legal lot. However, what we told them that they could do, it probably gets to the same thing, is to merge these 2 lots together into one big lot and then they could build what's called an accessory dwelling unit, which is a second dwelling unit on the property that can't be sold separately, but it's a granny unit or a Fonzie unit or whatever you want to call it, because the intent of this, again, was for a family member to live in a smaller unit behind the property. The applicant was amenable to that solution. This was going to require something called a plan amendment, but while they were going through all the costs about this, the applicant said, well, while we're at it, can we vacate this piece of Divide View right here? So Divide View is a built road here about 20 feet wide. This is all hillside, very, very steep, unbuildable piece of property. However, it's still, at the present, it's still right of way. So while they were going through this process, they approached us in regard to whether we could vacate that pretty much unbuildable piece of property back to them. At the same time that this was happening, this property owner came in and pretty much asked for the same thing. They bought this piece of property, and this was already in the city, and they wanted to merge this all into one big lot, and they also wanted the city to vacate this back to them too. Again, right to the improved right-of-way. Following me so far? Then, the third property owner came in, and he's the one, they are the ones that live here, and here is again another piece of right now what is right-of-way with the city, very, very steep, and they wanted the city to vacate this red triangle to them, again, to the built part of Montaigne. So, this is already a built road, this is already a built road, so the vacation, again, is mostly unbuildable property. That is the extent of this. The one other thing that's happening is kind of hard to show you here, but right now, this is an easement. This is an easement right here. And this, as we were working through this with the applicant, we talked to them, and while we're vacating some right-of-way to them where these yellow slivers are, at the same time, this right now, which is presently an easement, they are going to dedicate this to us for right-of-way. So we are getting right-of-way here, they are getting land here, and all of this still remains a 20-foot right-of-way. Are you following me so far? So in summary, what they're doing is that they are annexing, where did my planner go? They are annexing this property and this property. Per state statute, within 90 days of an annexation, you have to rezone. So they will be rezoning that to residential estate to comply with all the other surrounding properties. And then they will be merging this into one big property, this into one big property, and they will be taking this land on either side that right now is right of way and merging it into their lot to have two larger lots. Make sense? So staff recommends, and this has to go in a particular order. So the first thing that would have to happen, and it's actually listed on your agenda backwards. I believe it's ordinance 22 has to happen first. That would be the annexation ordinance. So if you were to approve this, first you would have to move to approve the annexation. You'd have to move to approve the ordinance annexing. The second thing you would have to do then would be to move to rezone those properties. And then the third ordinance would be ordinance or resolution, Carmen, the vacation. Okay, and then the third would be vacating those 1, 2, 3 slivers of land to the property owners. Any questions? Does that make sense?
So
it's complicated.
From the bottom up.
Indeed, yep.
Yes.
So the question, that's an easement right now, and they're going to give that as a right-of-way?
Yeah, so this is probably a better demonstration.
Till discussion. Let's get through the public hearing before we start asking questions, please. Okay, do you have anything else for us, staff?
Is that confusing enough?
Yeah. Applicant, Bob has recused himself, and Mr. Gordat is not here, so we won't hear any testimony. Do I have any public comment? Jan's here. Oh.
I think Alan covered it very well.
Okay. Public comment or testimony? All right, nothing from the public? All right. This hearing is now declared.
Oh, hold it, sorry. It would be appropriate if you want any questions of substance related, which I think you were just about to ask Alan that so he can get that in before we close the hearing technically.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I understand they're giving that back as a right of way instead of an easement, right?
Yeah, I think this is a better graphic probably for that particular thing. So if you look at this, if you see that yellow line right there?
Yeah.
So that is a Divide View Road, but for whatever reason, there is no right of way there. It's just an easement right now. So those two properties touch, and people have been driving down this road on an easement.
Right of way.
Correct, it's not right of way, it's easement. Here, for whatever reason, this is right of way. So they're asking for the city to give them this sliver and this sliver, which is basically hillside.
All right, now I just have one other question. There's another sliver down below, so what's that?
This piece here?
Yeah.
This is a third. So maybe I know it's confusing. So after I was talking to these two property owners, this third property owner found out that they were coordinating on this. So he said, hey, while you're at it, while you're spending all this money, can I then go ahead and also ask the city to vacate this hillside back to me as well? So there's 3 vacations that are happening here. Basically 3 hillsides that are being vacated to these applicants.
And that's a third person.
Correct. There's 3 applicants.
Any reason why we're vacating that other than it's not usable?
Why were they asking us to vacate it? They didn't tell me why they actually wanted that piece of property.
That's not a problem.
No.
That's nothing.
No, I actually brought Public Works up there. We looked at it. You're not putting a road on that. It's very, very steep. So there is no obstruction of the already built road. The already built road won't be touched. Still roughly about 20 feet wide. We're just giving them slopes about like this.
Am I good now, Norman? Public comment? Yes?
I just had a question. So, the easement part goes down and then it seems to come back around into property that you're not dealing with.
Oh.
Does that turn into a...
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to cut you off. We're going to have to swear you in.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Raise your right hand. Diane's going to swear you in.
Sorry. The nicety of the hearing process.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. That's mostly a question, but I was just wondering about this piece right here. You know, is that an easement now? I mean, that the city needs to deal with?
This is all within the county. It's not within the city limits.
It's in the BLM stuff.
Correct. These 2 little yellow pieces right here, right now, right now, the city limits are, if you can watch my little laser pointer, this is the city limits right here.
I see.
These 2 yellow pieces are now going to be annexed in, but all of this is with the unincorporated Clear Creek County, and it's BLM land.
Okay. I did kind of work, so I just got
And I'm sorry, I can't tell you if that's an easement or county right away off the top of my head because it was in the county, so I didn't research it.
Okay. Now we can move on and come out of the hearing.
Is there any valuation as far as that property is concerned? So,
We didn't do an appraisal, if that's what you're saying. I mean, I think sometimes you're saying if a city is vacating their way back, whether or not the applicant pays us some money for that land. Is that what you're suggesting? We did not do an appraisal. No, we did not do an appraisal on this, no.
So that city-owned property, I mean, it's not much, so it would actually go back on the tax roll. I mean, it's,
Right.
okay. Now, we're going to come out of here. This hearing is now declared closed. It is 8:30. Council discussion. Council, any more discussion? Any more questions? All right, do I have a motion? And we are going to start at the bottom. You start with 22 first. C.
I'll make a motion, ordinance number 22, series 2019, an ordinance annexing to the city of Idaho Springs approximately 0.49 acres of land in the unincorporated Clear Creek County, Colorado, adjacent to the Montane Park subdivision, to be known as the Bowen Garnett annexation to the city of Idaho Springs.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Last chance for discussion. And roll call, please.
Michael Helen.
Yes.
Scott Canal.
Yes.
Jeff Harmon.
Yes.
Bob Boland. John Curtis. Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
And Jim Clark.
Yes. All right, motion passes. Can we move on to ordinance number 21, please?
I'll make a motion, ordinance number 21, series 2019, ordinance rezoning approximately 0.49 acres known as the Boland Garnett annexation to the city of Idaho Springs to residential estate, RE.
And do I have a second? Second. Motion and second discussion. Roll call.
Michael Hellman.
Yes.
Scott Canal.
Yes.
Jeff Harmon.
Yes.
John Curtis. Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes. All right. Motion for ordinance 20, please.
Make a motion, we approve ordinance number 20, series 2019, and ordinance conditionally vacating portions of Divide View Drive and Montaigne Drive within the Montaigne Park subdivision adjacent to lots 16, 17, and 24 of said subdivision within the city of Idaho Springs.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Roll call.
Michael Hellman.
Yes.
Scott Canal.
Yes.
Jeff Harmon.
Yes.
John Curtis. Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes. All right, motion passes. Man, that was tough. Thanks, Alan. Good work.
Yeah, thanks for that explanation.
Was it totally confusing or did it make sense?
No,
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 it makes sense. I just said that.
I did the best.
All right, we don't have our finance officer here tonight. So we'll, oh yeah, let's call Bob back. Hey, you and Colin could be brothers.
It's happened a few times.
I won't take it personal. That's why I wear the hat.
Put a hat on him and yeah, y'all can trick somebody. Hey, Colin, thank you for that call.
Thank you for requesting.
Okay, we got Bob present now. We will move to city administrator.
Mayor and council, we have my report for you with 3 requests for action, please.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve awarding Sean Eno of Stream Footworks at 222 17th Avenue a $2,500 facade improvement mini grant for his project to improve his building's facade and access.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Roll call?
Michael Hellman.
Yes.
Scott Canal.
Yes.
Jeff Harmon.
Yes.
Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Curtis. Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes. All right. Next, action item, please. Motion.
Make a motion that we approve and authorize the mayor to sign an engagement letter from Mayberry and Company, LLC, dated December 11th, 2019, in the amount of $9,600 for 2019 and $9,900 for 2020 to conduct the annual audit of the city's financial statements.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. What year is this that we use this company?
We 3 years so far, so this will be 2 more years.
2 more years. Okay.
We're not under any contract or is this?
We had a 3-year agreement with them, and that expires with the 2019 or the 2018 audit, so now we have 19 and 20, so we're doing a 2-year agreement.
Okay.
It looks like they just have a standard increase each year or something.
All right. Any more discussion? Roll call. Yes.
Scott Canal.
Yes.
Jeff Harmon.
Yes.
Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Curtis. Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes. Okay, and then another action item. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve and authorize the mayor to sign an engagement letter from Butler Snow dated December 16, 2019 in the amount of $20,000 to serve as bond counsel for the loan agreements with the Colorado Water Resources and Power Development Authority in connection with Project 2 of the wastewater treatment plant expansion.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Roll call?
Michael Hill.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Curtis. Art Picavalli.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes. All right, motion passes. Now we'll move to City Clerk.
Here in council, you have my staff report for your review, and you've already taken care of my action item.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you.
Diane.
Thank
As everybody looked at the sales tax, it looks very positive. Amazing increases. For new council members, our sales tax reports run 2 months behind. So about a $33,000 increase in revenues from last year. Pretty healthy. All right, thanks Diane. Thanks for all the hard work you do. You, Andy, also. And then we'll move to PD.
Mayor and Council, I just realized what a big man Dan Wolf is. So, out of respect for Chuck and Art, I'm going to stand so you can see me. I'll refer to my report, Mayor and Council, but I do want to highlight a couple of things. For the year, the officers in this department have responded to 7,843 calls. You know, keep in mind that at any given time, there's only 7 or 8 of us in the whole department. And at any given time, there's only 1 officer on duty. So that's pretty significant. That includes everything from saving someone's cat from a tree, which actually occurs, and to aggravated assault. So we had a very busy year. I'm very proud of our officers, and I do appreciate the compliments that were made about the staff today. As you know, but you may not know, during public comment, we are required to sit silent. And I'd like to clarify a couple things for council in reference to Mr. Bogue's comments. Mr. Bogue's complaints, and this is public record, are directly related to criminal charge against him. He has filed these complaints, which in legal terminology are predominantly puffery. They don't have a specific allegation alleging criminal wrongdoing or misconduct by the police department. Each one of those letters has been forwarded to the district attorney's office. It is not the mayor's job to respond to those types of complaints. It is the executive of that division to do. So he did do his due diligence. Perhaps Mr. Morgan or Mr. Macy, you can correct me. I've not found a single document in 4 years here identifying Mr. Bogue as the deputy chief of police for this police department. His rank was sergeant. Any questions?
I believe that's correct.
Thanks for the clarification, Chief. No action items?
No, you want some?
No. Action item normally means you just spend some money. Thanks, Chief. Keep us safe out there. We appreciate it. Great job. All right, Public Works and Streets. John?
Mayor and Council, I refer to my staff report with no request for action.
All right, do you want to talk just a second about the water line on the bridge?
It's a never-ending process. I've been in contact with CDOT numerous times today, and they have their bureaucracy. But anyway, what happened is a few weeks ago, the water line that is over Clear Creek under the 103 bridge blew the expansion joints out of it. When that happened, we believe that the line kicked, which bent the line, ripped 3 of the hangers out of the bottom of the bridge, and spilled several thousand gallons of water. So that line currently is out of service, obviously. So it does need to be repaired. I've talked to JVA Engineering. We're getting a process together to repair those hangers, and we're also trying to contact CDOT to put in lateral supports for that too, so that this doesn't happen again. But that's part of the enterprise fund that we'll need to fund that repair. So we did, and in my staff report, we've been chasing water leaks for the last month or so. We had another one in front of the ambulance barn that for some reason at one period of time they connected a 1-inch line to the main that went nowhere that rotted in two. So that one we chased. We had 2 more lines in the 2800 Colorado Boulevard, or 2800 Minor Street that blew lines apart, froze, and we've been chasing those too. So it's been a little busy, but anyway, that's the water line's the most important thing. We have 3 feeds of water into the city, and that is one of the main feeds into the city. So obviously we'd like to get that fixed. And not an emergency, but we want to get it fixed before CDOT starts working on the water line that's along Water Street. It's going to be relocated for peak period shoulder line.
I'd like to say kudos to our guys. Paul was out there very quickly. John was out of town. Brad, Steve, they were all out there taking a look at it. And as I was thinking, Colin on his way out, he's the one that actually emailed myself and John when it happened. I guess he was walking his dog down through there, heard something going on, looked at it, and he immediately contacted us. So great work by one of our citizens, and appreciate you. All right, thanks, John. Keep up the good work out there. We're down to water and wastewater. Dan?
Mayor and Council, I'll refer you to my staff report with no request for action.
All right. You just want to give the audience just a little update of how the Project 1's expansion is going?
It's going good. We just poured the slab for the truck bay. Doing yard piping, laying the new sewer line for the bypass of the new building. It's split. The current sewer and the water line are pretty close together right there. So, for the state code, we've actually had to encase the new sewer line in case there's a leak or a break. It doesn't cross-contaminate, so that just got flow filled. And that's probably about 100 feet of sewer line that's been encased, and they should be tying that into the existing plant here in the next week or so.
And from what I understand, that's 75% complete?
That's getting there, yeah. Most of the foundation, concrete, got a couple more concrete wall pours, and then just metal prefab buildings and equipment. So, it's
all right. Any questions, council, for Dan? All right. Committee reports. We haven't been assigned to committees. We will probably do this on our retreat once we set a date for that. Have we got the solid date yet?
The suggested date is Saturday, February 1st. If that could work for mayor and council. If not, we maybe should consider some other dates.
We're talking about 11 o'clock?
Yes. Yes. Probably until
TBD on location.
Yes. But, Mayor, if I could, can we get a sense from council if that might work, because we do have a
look at their schedule and see how that Saturday, February 1st works.
It was me.
You gotta check my calendar out there.
Yeah. Good job. All right. I'm good. Everybody else, Scott? You good, Lauren? Bob? You don't have any more treatments, right? Done with those?
Yeah, done with that.
All right. I think he said something about pizza and beer. Is that what you guys talk about soon?
Not in that order.
All right. Yes.
Just one other thing, I don't have to decide right now, but for council to think about is we talked about a tour of city facilities. And we'd like to do that on a weekday when the department heads are here and staff is here and things are operating on a more routine basis. So I'm not sure if council has a particular day of the week that might be better than another to try to think about a tour and let's envision is getting a van or 15-passenger van perhaps.
Does everybody know how to do a doodle poll? A what?
It's
a poll, an electronic poll, and we give some dates, and you just check the boxes, and then we collaborate on which date would be best. But,
so I'm thinking we could knock it out probably in the morning or afternoon, so it wouldn't necessarily have to be a whole day, but get us around the water plant, wastewater treatment plant, public works, police department,
police department. Is that what you call that down there, Chief?
it's falling into the creek, so we better make it quick.
Ours will be a short tour also.
So there are
This is a pretty short one.
any days of the week that are better, days of the week that are better than others?
Friday and Monday, and I have every other Friday and Monday off.
So Friday and Monday is
But
better?
it has to hit on the weekend.
Tuesdays are good for me.
Anytime for me.
We'll come up with some dates for us, Andy, and
Few
we'll
days.
talk about it, and then we'll present to the rest of the council.
Thank you.
All right, good meeting. It was 8:45, meeting adjourned. Thanks everybody for sitting in for the duration.
How are you? Good. Is Ben coming to pick you up? Yeah. Can he pick you up at Buffalo to have a drink? You don't drink, that's right. You don't drink this morning. Would that be good? All right. I don't know. I know it's millions. Yeah, but I mean, I know it's a lot. How was it? Yeah, I'll order it over there. Yes, I will, I promise. I will. Oh, thank you so much. Thanks.
Project, we got a lot of project 2, so 3 million.